This yogurt is made out of chickpeas. Yep, that's right, all you need are 3 ingredients: chickpeas, water, and only once a ready-made yogurt to kickstart that fermentation. After that, you have an endless batch of your own chickpea yogurt. It's super easy, and I'm gonna show you how to make it. So, chickpea yogurt. It sounds really weird, right? That's what I thought as well. But think about all the benefits. Chickpeas can be grown locally. They are inexpensive and they're a natural source of protein, and they are soy-free. And the flavor? Well, watch till the end and I'm gonna tell you exactly what to expect and how to turn it into a savory or sweet version. But before we start, credit where credit is due. I first got the idea to make chickpea yogurt after seeing this video by Priyanka. In this video, she uses a slightly different method that I had to change. No matter what I tried, I couldn't quite get it to work. So ultimately, I ended up with a slightly different version. I'll tell you about all of that later on. So for now, let's make some chickpea yogurt.
It all starts with 125 grams of organic chickpeas. Just add them to a bowl and cover them with around 1 liter of water to soak overnight or for at least 12 hours. The next day, you'll notice these tiny bubbles floating on the surface of the water. This is a sign of probiotic activity that naturally comes from the chickpeas.
Now in the original method, you would use that probiotic soaking liquid to kickstart your fermentation. But I just never really quite get it to work, so I ultimately had to change the method. I'm not saying the method doesn't work, it depends on a lot of different factors like ambient temperature and of course your chickpeas. But with me, every time the yogurt went off before the fermentation actually kicked in. So I made small changes and now it works every single time.
Drain the chickpeas and add them to a blender along with 700 milliliters of water. Then blend them for around 20 seconds until almost smooth, but don't worry if it's a little grainy. Now line a sieve with a cheesecloth, pour in the blended chickpeas in batches and squeeze out as much liquid as possible directly into a saucepan. Then continue with the rest. You can use the leftover pulp in soups, stews or even bread doughs.
So right now this is basically nothing else than chickpea milk. If you go over the bottom of the pan with a whisk, you'll notice that some of the starch is already sunk down. And it's those starches that once we heat it, will transform this liquid into a silken yogurt.
Whisk the liquid to loosen the starches, then bring it to a gentle boil while whisking often to avoid any starches sticking to the bottom. Once it's come to a boil, turn the heat to low and continue whisking. After just a few seconds, it will begin to thicken into a custard consistency like this. And keep in mind that raw chickpeas can upset the stomach, so continue cooking for another 2 to 3 minutes to make sure it has been heated properly, then turn off the heat. You can now pour it into a heat-proof bowl and wait for it to cool down entirely to room temperature.
This step is important because if it's still too hot, we would kill any bacteria that we're about to add. So in order to check, just remove the skin that will have formed on top and then drizzle a little bit on your finger. It shouldn't be warmer than your body temperature. At this point, it's really just coagulated chickpea milk, so we need to add some active bacteria to it. I find that for the first time, the easiest way to do that is to just use some organic pre-made yogurt. Just make sure that it says something like active or live cultures on the ingredients list. After that, your own yogurt will be active and you can just use that for the next batch. So you only need the store-bought yogurt once.
Stir in a generous tablespoon or 30 grams of the yogurt to kickstart the fermentation. Then cover it with a plate and leave it to ferment in a warm place for around 16 hours. By then, the yogurt will have set a little bit more and looks like this.
The speed of the fermentation really depends on the ambient temperature, so keep an eye on it. But to know if it's really ready, you want to give it a taste. So cheers to that. And what you get is a tanginess that wasn't there yesterday at all. And that means that the bacteria are working, the fermentation is underway, and our yogurt is ready. Right now though, it's still really chunky and to be honest, it doesn't really look appetizing at all. But there's an easy way to fix that.
For a smooth yogurt, just add it to a food processor and blend it for a few seconds until it looks creamy like this. Your chickpea yogurt is done.
You can now store this in the fridge in an airtight container and the tangy flavor is going to develop even more. After around 3 to 4 days, you should then make a new batch, but this time you can use your own yogurt to kickstart that fermentation. So basically, you have an endless yogurt glitch. But before I chat about what you can actually do with it, a quick safety warning. We are handling live bacteria here, so it's important to be careful. Don't leave it to ferment for much longer than 16 hours and please don't eat it if it has any discoloration or pinkish streaks, which are definitely signs that it's gone off. Your senses really are your best friend here, so look and smell before tasting to see if anything seems off. What is normal is that the water and chickpea yogurt will separate a little bit. In that case, you can just whisk it back in if it smells, and then if it tastes alright, perfect, you can crack on. And finally, what's the flavor like? Right now, to be honest, it's not really a yogurt alternative yet. There's a raw, subtle chickpea flavor and you wouldn't really eat it in a bowl of granola or with fruit. But there's two easy ways where you can turn it into either a sweet or into a savory version that's absolutely delicious.
For the sweet version, I'm taking half of the yogurt. Then add some maple syrup and vanilla extract for a sweetened vanilla yogurt that you can eat by itself. Or for a savory version, grate half of a cucumber, mix in 1 teaspoon of salt, and after a few minutes drain the water. Add the cucumber to the remaining yogurt, grate in 1 garlic clove, add 1 tablespoon of lemon juice and 15 grams of mint. Mix it through for a fun dip with bread or as a side to savory dishes.
And that's it! That's how you make chickpea yogurt. But really, what's so exciting about this is the potential of it all. If we're using chickpea yogurt as a plant-based alternative, we're less dependent on ingredients that are imported from really far away. Plus, chickpea yogurt is a soy-free source of protein that's probiotic, and that is really hard to find on a plant-based diet, but really good for our gut. If you make this, I challenge you to source some locally grown chickpeas. I'm, for example, in the UK, so I could get some British grown ones. But just a heads up that different growing conditions also mean different properties for your chickpeas. So I noticed actually that with these locally grown ones, I need to add around 25% less water compared to shop-bought ones. So in order to keep it generic, I used the shop-bought ones today in this video, but really it's just a matter of trying it out and finding the right ratio. And this method is of course also very similar to making tofu out of chickpeas. For that, you also soak them, then blend them with a little less water before cooking them until it coagulates and eventually sets into a tofu as it cools down. And that is something that doesn't only work with chickpeas, but it also works with other legumes like green peas or even red lentils, which brings up the question whether we can make this yogurt with other legumes as well. I haven't actually tried that yet, but I don't see a reason why it wouldn't work. But just a word of warning that raw legumes can be harmful. So if you do try out other legumes for this yogurt, always make sure to strain them and then cook the liquid for a few minutes. And please also check out my any legume tofu video where I explain which kinds of legumes you can use for this. For the full recipes, check out the links in the description below and let me know in the comments if you made this chickpea yogurt. I really hope you liked this video. If you did, then please hit thumbs up and subscribe. I explore a lot of natural plant-based food on my channel, so make sure to check out my other videos. And as always, wunderbar!
I'm going to show you how to make tofu out of chickpeas in 2 different ways. First, we'll make a strained version, and finally a zero-waste chickpea tofu that you can flavor in whichever way you like. This tofu is made out of green peas, this one is made out of red lentils, and this one is made out of olive green lentils. You can fry them like tofu, you can slice them like tofu, and you can serve them like tofu. All of these tofus have one thing in common. They're made out of legumes. What exactly are legumes, you wonder? They're part of a large family of flowering plants called Fabaceae. But basically, they're nothing else than the seeds from which those plants grow.